The more advanced you are in Excel use, the more you value using tables. Tables makes it easy to sort, filter, format, and use formulas. In this video, I'm going to show you how to insert and edit a table, the sort and filter features you can benefit from, dealing with formulas, referencing within and outside of the table, the advantage as well as the disadvantage of automatic fill and how to deal with it, adjusting the default advanced options to match your need. Last but not least, the style and formatting options you can use for a good presentation. Let's begin. To convert a dataset to a table, select a cell within the table, go to the Insert tab, and click on Table. If your table have headings, check the My Table Has Headers option. Otherwise, Excel will insert its default table headers above your data. If your data have empty cells, it is better to select the whole data set manually or by pressing Ctrl-A once or twice and then clicking on the Table button. You can also use the Ctrl+T shortcut or Ctrl+L to transform your data into a table. The first thing you should do after inserting a table is to rename it in the Name Manager box. Select the table manually or from the Name box drop-down menu. Change the default name of the table to a meaningful name you can recognize and press Enter. The name must be unique and should not contain spaces. I recommend putting _TBL at the end of the name to help identify it as a table in the Name Manager. If you add data to the right of the table will expand horizontally to the right. If you do the same at the bottom, the table will expand vertically. You can use the handle at the lower right of the table to resize the table as you wish. You can insert a new row or column from within or outside the table. Select the whole row, right-click and insert a new row. Select any cell with the table, right-click on it. Here you can insert new rows or columns as you wish. You can shift columns and rows as you wish. Select the data set you need, press Shift and shift the data to where you want them to be. You can use the tab stop to switch to the next cells within the table row. At the end of the table, I will create a new row. To delete rows or columns, you can select, right-click from within the table and delete. You can also select the complete row or column and delete it. To select the whole table, select any cell within the table and press Ctrl+A. The whole table excluding the heading is selected. Press Ctrl+A again to select the whole table. Move your mouse to the upper left corner until the diagonal arrow appears. Click once to select the data, twice to include the headers. Go to the left of the table until the horizontal arrow appears. Click to select one table row, drag to select multiple rows. The same can be done to the column. To convert the table to a normal data set, select the table, go to the Table Design tab, and click on the Convert to Range option. When you create a table, a drop-down menu is automatically added to the header. You can use it to sort and filter your data. If your column contains date data, you will get the Date, Sort, and Filter options. You can sort oldest to newest, use the built-in filters like a date between or a date after a date you specify, etc., etc. If your column contains text, you will get the Text, Sort, and Filter option. If your column contains numbers, you will get the Numbers, Sort, and Filter options. You can filter and sort manually in a table. If I select the cell containing Germany, for example, right-click on it and choose Filter by Cell's Value. All the rows containing Germany will be filtered. A slicer is a visual interactive filter you can use to filter your data. Select any cell within your table, go to the Table Design section and insert a slicer. For the first example, I will choose Filter by Office Location. Click on the value you want to filter and the table will be filtered automatically. You can remove the filter applied by clicking on the Remove Filter symbol. You can activate multiple filter choices to choose multiple ones. An additional tab on the ribbon will be available for the slicer. Here you can adjust the slicer basic settings, change the format, choose a built-in style or make your own. You can align with other objects if you are creating a dashboard, for example. You can also adjust the size and number of columns of the slicer. So in this tab, you have full control over your slicer. You can add an additional slicer that is also connected to the table and use both to filter. Unlike with pivot tables, grouping dates in years or quarters to facilitate filtering is not possible. You have to select individual dates to filter if the list is long. The same goes for numbers. To remove a slicer, select it and delete it. If I add a formula column to the table and divide the revenue with the number of units, the formula will be applied to the whole column. If I expand my table, the formula will be included in the added rows. If I change the formula and multiply instead of divide, the formula will be updated in the whole column. As you can see, Excel is not referencing cell in the formula, which is normal in a dataset. Instead, the column name and content is referenced inside of the brackets. You can use formulas outside of the table while referring to data from the table. Excel will use the same referencing method. It will only add the table name before the column reference. As I mentioned before, one advantage in a table is consistency. There will be cases where you might need to use inconsistent formulas in the table. This means, for example, that within a column, some of the rows will be calculated with formulas, others with manual entry. For example, if I enter 20 in this cell, Excel will complain about that. An error note will be added to the table cell. If this applies to a lot of cells, it will slow Excel and the processing extremely. There are three ways to deal with that. The first one is to apply the formula you want outside of the table, but still refer to the table as I showed in the example before. The second method is to ignore the errors. This must unfortunately be applied to each and every cell that is inconsistent with the cells before it. Go to the Formula tab, Error Checking, and choose Ignore. Otherwise, you can click on the warning signal next to the cell and choose Ignore. The third method is to adjust the Formulas options. Go to File, Options, and then Formula. Here you can activate or deactivate the Use Tables Names in Formulas feature, as well as managing formula errors. If you must have inconsistent formulas in your table, uncheck the Inconsistent Calculated Column Formula in Tables option. All the inconsistencies will then be ignored. Select the table and go to Table Style. Hover over the styles. Excel will show you a preview of how the table will look like. If you are not satisfied, you can create your own style. Right-click on a style that is near your expectations and choose Duplicate. In this list, you can choose the table elements you want, like first column stripe or second column stripe, etc., etc., and adjust their format. Once you finish, you can set the style as a default to reuse it every time. Right-click on the style and choose Set it as a default. Excel offers further table view and style options. I will quickly go through them. You can hide or unhide the header row. It will be only hidden and not deleted. The total row option will add an additional row at the bottom of your table that includes a calculation for the last column and only the last column. If you click on the drop-down menu of the calculation, you can choose a different calculation, like average, for example, instead of sum. Banded rows will show or hide the colored rows in the table. First and last column will bold format the first and last column in the table. Banded columns will color the first column and every third column afterward.